Law school courses to become more uniform under new ABA accreditation rule.
I gotta call bullshit.
Complete bullshit. There's no way that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome to episode 469 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Ben Olson. With me is Nathan Fox. We're the co-founders of LSATdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. Be LSAT famous, share news, and ask questions on our website, thinkinglsat.com. In 2 days, the August LSAT scores are going to be released. That's Wednesday, August 28th. Let us know how you did, good or bad. We want to hear from you. Every time we hear good stories and we hear bad stories, we hear about how the test was easy and how it was so hard. So tell us your take so that we can share the news to everyone else. We also have a class coming up on Sunday, September 1st. That's a free class. You can sign up for that at lsatdemon.com/free. It's going to be a review of test 146. Anything to say there?
Taught by Robert. Robert's been getting just killer reviews lately. People love his style. You might have heard him before on this podcast, or maybe was he on Thinking LSAT? Maybe he was just on LSAT Demon Daily talking about his 39-point improvement or whatever it was that he was able to have. So yeah, Robert's a pretty inspiring guy, and hopefully people will like that free class. Where do they do? lsatdemon.com/free.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. On YouTube over the past 90 days, 37% of our viewers came from channel subscribers.
Views. 37% of our views came from channel subscribers.
What did I say?
Viewers.
I don't even know. Oh, viewers. Oh, views. Okay, sure. Similar. What do you make of that number?
I want that number to go up. I don't know what it was before, but I want it to go up. Now that I know it's 37% today on August 20th, I want that number to go up. I just want people who like us to hit subscribe. It's a good way to tell YouTube that we're, good. So if you just hit the subscribe button, you'll be doing us a favor. Appreciate that. What's this PSA we have here about fee waivers?
Yeah, so we got an email from LSAC, and it was they're rolling out a couple changes for people who apply for a fee waiver. To get a fee waiver, you have to have certain financial, meet certain financial requirements. If you get a fee waiver, you can take the LSAT for free, sometimes twice. You get Law Hub Advantage 1 year for free. You get discounts off of the Demon. But anyways, if you are a fee waiver student, first, they've implemented a couple things. If you want to take the test officially, you have to take it twice in Law Hub before registering.
Oh. I'm so sorry to all the people who are going to have to take practice tests in Law Hub. It's just an ugly, clunky tool that I think what they're doing here probably is just trying to make sure that people are serious before they sit and take the real LSAT. To the extent that they're forcing people to do a couple practice tests before they sit for the real thing, that's great, because it is a big waste of money and a bad thing to do for your record to just get the fee waiver and register for the LSAT immediately and just take the LSAT and crash and burn. Nobody wins from doing that. So to the extent that this forces you to at least take a couple practice tests before taking the real thing, I think it's good.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to read this quote from the email just so people know exactly what they're saying. It says, to encourage proper preparation, fee waiver recipients will need to complete at least 2 full-length practice tests in exam mode in Law Hub before they can use their fee waiver to register to take the LSAT. So I can see some people turning on exam mode and just trying to get through these 2 tests as quickly as possible.
You probably have to wait. You probably can't end the section early.
No, you can't. Mode. You cannot. Yeah, there's no feature to do that.
But you could go D, D, A, B, C, D, B, A, C, A, D, E, F, whatever. And then just get to the end of the set, go take a nap for 30 minutes, come back and do that again 3 more times. And then you'll have made it through your full practice. not to encourage people to game that, but like, what are you really going to bet? How are you going to benefit from? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The
what's
second
this other
thing
thing?
is, they say a fee waiver students must take LSAC's How to Apply course before getting CAS. So that's the Credential Assembly
Service.
Yeah.
That's the thing where you have to have it. It's like the common app for law schools in a way, because Credential Assembly Service is where they accumulate your personal statement, your letters of recommendation, your LSAT score, your transcripts, all the things that you're going to need to send in to apply. That's a service that they charge a couple $100s for.
Yeah.
And you get it for free if you qualify for the LSAC fee waiver. But now there's one more hoop that they're going to make you jump through. You want to read this?
Yeah, so similarly, to help ensure prospective students have a solid understanding of the application process and the resources available, fee waiver recipients will be required to complete a short interactive Law Hub course, How Do I Apply to Law School, before they can use their fee waiver to purchase LSAC's Credential Assembly Service.
All right. I mean, a bit of what this is they just don't want people to get the fee waiver and then totally squander it.
Exactly.
Which you would if you got the fee waiver, registered right away for your LSAT, registered right away for Credential Assembly Service, but don't know how it works. Get lost in the process and wait for 2 years. Now everything has expired. That probably happens a lot. And so these steps are probably meant to keep people from just completely falling off. Although it'll move the falling off earlier, I suppose, because instead, many people are going to not take their 2 full-length practice tests and then just never register for the full LSAT.
Which could be good.
Yeah. They're also going to not do this interactive Law Hub course and then not get Credential Assembly Service for free.
Yeah.
Which is fine if they're not actually applying to law school anyway.
If you're not serious. I am curious if you listen to this podcast and you're a fee waiver recipient and you end up taking this course, we'd love to hear what you think of it. You know what we say about applying to law school. What do they say? Do they encourage people to apply anytime to just get it done? What is the message that they're giving there, and what do you think of it? Anyways, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Just find our website, thinkinglsat.com, and you can talk to us there.
Great. This next one is from Matt, OG Matt, who has been around for a long time.
Yep.
The news item is law school courses to become more uniform under new ABA accreditation rule.
Yeah. So we have a Reuters story from Karen Sloan.
Again.
The number one most mentioned person on the Thinking LSAT podcast, Karen Sloan, because she's just out there tirelessly reporting on law school and law school admissions. And here, this is American Bar Association accreditation of law schools. So it's like, as always, the headline, is much bigger than the actual news.
Yeah.
That's just how life is, right? Law school courses to become more uniform under new ABA accreditation rule. Law schools will be required to set minimum learning outcomes for every class they offer and ensure that those outcomes are the same across all sections of required courses. It's a series of changes. This is the American Bar Association's Council of the Section of Legal Education and Admissions to the Bar. Adopted a series of changes to its student learning outcomes standards aiming to clarify law school's obligations. For example, you're a 1L, they teach torts to everybody, but they have different sections of torts, different professors. Those professors have different interests. So they cover different shit in your torts class. This is now meant to make sure that we have the same learning outcomes across all sections of torts.
I gotta call bullshit.
Complete bullshit. There's no way that's going to happen.
Well, what's the point? They're saying they want to make schools even more uniform than they already are. Law schools are extraordinarily homogeneous, right? Like they all teach the same 1L courses.
Right.
okay, there's some differences and now you want to make them even more uniform. The fact that the 1L classes now need to be taught largely by full-time rather than adjuncts, I know this is a part of the rule you haven't read yet, but when I saw that, I was like, this sounds like entrenched law schools
Right.
trying to make the walled garden even more walled in. Like, let's make the wall higher and harder to jump over as online education starts to creep in and compete with the traditional model.
That seems like it has the potential to make legal education actually worse, because my best professors were frequently adjuncts.
Yeah, they were actually practicing.
Were frequently full-time, permanent career law school professors
who have been professors since they graduated because they went to a very great law school and they had great great grades.
Who never ever practiced one day of tort law.
Yeah, they don't actually know what it's like to interact.
They teach the theoretical tort law.
Yeah,
it's stupid. That's my hot take, is that this is dumb. Can I tell you the other part of it seems even stupider, or seems even more ineffectual, which is the adopted changes also mandate all first-year classes include one early assessment that gives students feedback on their performance prior to a final exam. Academic support must be made available to any students who fail to attain a satisfactory level of achievement. So
why the rules? Like, I understand the need to have a midterm assessment or something like that. I do think that's something that's missing from law school. But then why this extra, if a student doesn't do well in that, you need to provide academic support to them? It just seems overly, like, in the weeds.
The whole thing's going to be fake anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did you have midterms in your 1L year? Do you remember?
I think I had some, but most classes did not. Yeah.
I had one. Exactly one of my 1L classes had a midterm. It was a multiple choice test. It counted for like nothing, counted for 10% of our grade, which is what these will.
Yeah.
They'll count for basically nothing. You'll, as far as like, you have to get feedback on your performance. Okay. So they make it multiple choice. You have right and wrong answers. And the people who do really shitty, they're going to refer you to like academic counseling. They're still going to have one essay at the end of the semester that largely determines your entire grade.
Yep.
And like, what's stopping any professor from saying, "Oh yeah, no, I'll do that. Sure, yeah, I'll have a midterm," and then they just like totally cursory, half-ass, like just have a little quiz or whatever.
Yeah, in class.
Either everybody gets 100% on it, or they're not going to give you meaningful feedback. Giving meaningful feedback takes time and costs money. And that's not what they do.
I still just don't understand why the ABA is so involved in this. It just seems like something that, I don't know. I do have a heavy skepticism toward regulation. Not that I think that all regulation is bad. Obviously, there's a lot of regulations that we absolutely need and depend on. I'm just, anytime someone comes in and is like, oh, here's a rule I want to decree down from above, there's always this skepticism in me that's just like, what for? And what are you trying to accomplish? And do you understand the implications?
It's fake regulation, right? I mean, it's fake oversight is what it is. Look, if they were serious about accreditation, they would have penalties for schools that have low bar passage rates and terrible job outcomes.
Yeah, just focus on the actual results.
And they don't do that. They don't care at all. I mean, it's like so rare. How many schools have lost accreditation been in the 15 years that you've been teaching LSAT? Like two?
Two, yeah.
Out of 200?
Yeah.
So it's not real. It's fake oversight. Let's give the impression of oversight. There's a quote here. Quote, "We need to do something to make these requirements meaningful and give them teeth," said ABA Council member Daniel Thies, noting that some schools see the current requirements as, quote, busy work, which it obviously is. While some legal academics welcomed the greater oversight imposed by the revised standards, others argued that the changes amount to micromanaging by the ABA that will limit the flexibility and control law professors have over their class content. More than a third of the nation's law deans, 76 of them, submitted a comment to the ABA in April opposing the changes and saying that they, quote, could harm legal education by placing unnecessary requirements on schools. The proposal is part of a larger movement by the ABA to exert more control over law schools, the deans said. Of course, the regulated don't want any regulation at all. But is this actual regulation?
Yeah.
Do we think the ABA is doing anything at all?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it to me.
Cool. All right. Well, that's the field you're going into. Hope you enjoy it. This next one, this is our first email is from Daniel. The subject is picking the right school.
Daniel says, I'm set to take the LSAT in October to catch early deadlines and wanted some insight on what schools to consider. I have a 3.64 GPA as a global business and economics undergrad and am shooting for at least a 170 on the LSAT. After utilizing your roll call page, I'm concerned for my prospect on scholarships. That said, I wanted to ask if you think it is smart to go to the best school possible with a considerable amount of debt, like $15,000 to $30,000 a year, or simply go to a mid-tier school with little to no debt from law school. Your recent podcast, which discussed the University of Chicago study, has already made me a little worried about scholarship offers. Nevertheless, I remain hopeful. Thanks so much for the incredible resource y'all have provided us students. Your advice would be greatly appreciated. Fellow Demon from Texas. What do you think for Daniel? Can I just let me just jump right in with apply broadly.
Yeah.
The simple advice to apply broadly smooths over all of your fears. It just makes life so easy. Just apply broadly. Daniel, apply to a bunch of schools that the estimator says you're probably going to get a full ride from. Apply also to some schools that you think are dream schools that would offer you, if you went there, they would offer you amazing potential career opportunities that you maybe wouldn't get at the schools that are offering you scholarships. We can cross that bridge when we come to it once you actually have the offers in hand.
Yeah. And you know how much it's actually going to cost you. You know where you're going to live, how far away from your current situation or family you're going to have to be moving. All of these different things come into play. Yeah. I was going to say, you said apply broadly, which I think is the advice in the action item. So don't worry about this. Focus on your LSAT score. If you get it up to at least a 170, you will be getting scholarship offers. You do not need to worry about that, despite whatever we said about the University of Chicago
apply broadly.
Study. Yeah, and you apply broadly. Yeah, you do those two things, you will get scholarships. And then the question becomes, okay, well, do I take a full ride scholarship to a lower school or a partial scholarship to a higher school? And again, that's going to depend on your goals. That's what I was going to say. And that also maybe you don't know right now, like how important is it to you to go into big law? But once you get those offers, you can look at the big law placement and decide if that's worth the risk to you.
Yeah, it's just we're not going to stats-turbate with you, and we're not going to help you decide what school to go to before you've even applied. Apply broadly with the best LSAT you can get as early in the cycle as possible. And Daniel, since you're not taking the LSAT until October, I want to caution you that putting so much pressure on that October test might cause you to crash and burn in October. So you need to be planning multiple backups here. Everybody needs to be planning multiple backups. And Ben and I both are going to tell you, dude, you should probably be applying next cycle, not this cycle.
Yeah.
You haven't even sat for the LSAT yet. What are you doing?
Yeah, don't think about it. You're trying to catch early deadlines by taking the test in October.
You're already late.
Yeah.
Like the application's open in September. You're worried about like early registration deadlines or some fictional early decision programs that are offered by these schools. And instead of thinking about that, you should be thinking about, when does your application open? And am I ready to apply at the beginning of application opening season? You know, you don't wait for the last day of deer hunting season. You look for the first day of deer hunting season, you
Yep.
know? And the first day of deer hunting season is when the applications open, not when the school gives you some, because there's going to be schools that have an early registration deadline in October. Then they're going to have a priority registration deadline in December. Then they're going to have another something. You know, they just call it early at all different times of the year to try to make you feel good about applying, because their job is to get you to apply.
Yep.
Our job is to get you to go to law school for the right price. And the way we think that's done is best GPA you can possibly get, best LSAT you can possibly get. Once you have those two things, we want you to apply broadly and as early in the cycle as possible. Then 6 months later, you'll have a stack of offers, and you can decide from those stack of offers where you're going to actually go, if you even decide to accept any of those offers. Because if you don't get the dream offer, you just say, fuck it, I'm not going, or I'll go next cycle. But students always try to put the cart before the horse and just think that they're going to, decide on their whole career path before they've even taken the LSAT. And that's really bad. You got the timeline like totally twisted up here, Daniel. Last words for Daniel?
Yeah, I would just say, and this is for everyone really, if you're debating between taking on a little bit of debt at a higher school or a lower school for free, I would argue that the presumption is to go for free then justify the higher price with hard numbers. Yeah.
What exactly are you buying? What is it that this school is going to give you that this other school won't? And I want the actual offer of admission in hand. I want the scholarship offer. And as we'll see in our next item, I want to not just know what the scholarship offer is for the first year, but I want to know what the scholarship offer is for year 2 and year 3. Because the schools will play shenanigans with this shit. And when you're looking on the scholarship estimator, as of right now, by the way, lsatdemon.com/scholarships. If you're looking at that page right now, what we're doing is we're looking at last year's ABA 509 reports. And Ben, we've kicked around a little bit the idea of starting to use like 3 years worth of scholarship information potentially to try to give people a little bit better picture.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that that's even the right solution, because scholarship offers are individually negotiated, and the schools are going to make you an offer when you're admitted. The offer will tell you whether it's a scholarship for the first year or whether it's an offer for all 3 years, or whether it's one of these weird exploding offers, which we're going to get into in just a second here, where the scholarship just automatically goes away, not because of bad performance, but just because, that's just not what you were offered.
Yeah.
And that's really shitty. And Daniel, what I want you to do is apply to 15 schools so that you can sort through the 10 bad offers and the 3 mediocre offers and the 2 really good offers, and then pick the best of those 2 good offers that you get out of 15 applications that you send in.
Yeah.
Should we move on to those, the scholarship shenanigans that we think are being played at the University of Colorado Law School?
Yeah, with a special shout out to Eric. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. So what's going on here? We have the scholarship estimator, which is looking at the scholarships that 1Ls got when they were admitted to all the different schools, including the University of Chicago. And we're saying, okay, well, based on the offers that they were given, here's the offer that you were likely to get. And the estimator assumes that that's the same offer you would get for the remaining 2 years. So you'd get it as a 1L, as a 2L, and as a 3L. And what Eric is asking or suggesting is that maybe that's not happening at the University of Chicago.
At the University of Colorado.
Sorry, the University of Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at the ABA 509 report here.
Okay.
For last year for University of Colorado Law School in Boulder, Colorado. I see 2,800 applications. Of those, they offered admission to 961. So that's an acceptance rate of a little over a third. Of those, only 161 matriculated. So only
wow.
16%.
Said yes.
So they think about what's going. It's like 2,800 go into the hopper and only 161 come out the other end. So 2,800 in the top of the hopper, they themselves eliminated 66% of those from consideration. Goodbye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The remaining 34%, they offered something to. Of those, though, of 961 people still in the hopper, only 161 people decided that that was a good offer. Yeah. So let's just stop there for a second and think about this. The reason why, what's his name? Daniel, the reason why you need to apply broadly is because the offers that you get might be shitty. Apparently, Colorado's out there making a lot of shitty offers to people.
Yeah.
Because they admitted 961 people and only 161 people said yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 800 people who applied to Colorado, got admitted to Colorado, and then they get the offer and they're like, yeah, no, I'm going somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, again, they accepted 34% of everyone who applied. And then of those people who applied and were accepted, only a little less than 17% of those people actually said yes. So it is clear that Colorado is making bad offers to people because those offers are not being accepted.
Yep.
Okay. Mediocre law school. Median LSAT is 164. You know, it's okay. But it's not Masters of the Universe style. Like 164 is, yeah, all right. 3.81 undergraduate GPA. You know, you're a good worker bee, but not a great worker bee. It's a fine law school. It's like this looks like every other law school, wouldn't you say? This is just like extremely mundane, middle of the road, common regional law school. And I'm sure it's the vast majority of law schools. Yep. If you want to work in Colorado, I'm sure that this is a fine place to go to law school.
Yeah. And it's also exactly why you should apply broadly so you can get offers that are for free, because the difference in those schools is almost nothing.
1L tuition for non-residents is $40,000 plus $2,000 in fees. 1L tuition for residents is $32,000 plus $2,000 in fees. So $8,000 Colorado resident discount. That's nice. They claim they don't offer conditional scholarships, and I believe them. The school does not award scholarships that may be reduced or eliminated based on law school academic performance. So they don't publish a chart of how many people retained their scholarships, but that doesn't mean that they can't make you a shitty offer that is for the first year only. And this is something that we don't talk about enough on this podcast, which I guess is why it was surprising to Eric when he found out that Colorado was doing this. But when I applied broadly, I didn't apply broadly, but I saw the offers coming in, and I've seen millions of student offers come in over the years. And yeah, they frequently will say, "Hey, congratulations, we're giving you a $30,000 scholarship for the first year."
Get in the door and then get stuck here, and then pay full price. Yep.
Yeah, it should go without saying, but apparently not. And so we need to say it more, that if your scholarship doesn't apply to the second and third year, then that's not a good offer.
Yep.
Obviously. Now, if it's conditional, it might be a good offer depending on how hard it is to meet the conditions. Sometimes the conditions are simply stay in good academic standing in the school, in which case it's nothing. But other times they'll be like, yeah, you have to have a 3.0 GPA. And that can be really hard to do if the curve is centered around a 2.7 median. Anyway, on the grants and scholarships 2022-2023 table, which is down here at the, top of the third page of their 509.
Yep.
We see a table listing grants and scholarships. Now, this is for the whole school. not just the 1Ls. This is for the whole school. So 506 students in the whole school, 425 are getting some kind of a grant. 280 of them are getting a scammership, less than half tuition. 124 of them are getting somewhere between half and full. And yeah, in that data, there's plenty of room for them to offer tons of full rides or close to full rides to 1Ls only. And then it just, we don't give you the scholarship during your second or third year. Or we down it, probably because 84% of the people in the entire school, that's 1Ls, 2Ls, and 3Ls, 84% of them are getting some kind of a grant. So my guess is what these grants look like is $30,000 for the first year, $7,500 for the second and third year.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that seems very plausible. We'd love to hear what people have gotten from the University of Colorado.
But and it's just like the punchline is, you don't just use our scholarship estimator to decide the one school that you're going to apply to and apply to that school and take whatever offer they give you. You use the scholarship estimator to assemble a list of 15 or 20 promising schools for you. You apply to all of them with the best LSAT, best GPA you can muster, ideally as early as possible in the cycle. Then you let the offers come in and you sort amongst them, and you disregard the ones that say they're going to give you a scholarship for the first year only, because it's like, how stupid do they think you are? It's so insulting.
Yeah.
It's so insulting.
Well, and the funny thing is they can think you're stupid because if you've only applied to one school, you might not know any better, or it might be too late to try to seek out alternatives. And so you just think, okay, fine. Hey, look how much money I got off. I mean, I did get a lot of money off, and wow, I feel good about that.
Sunk cost fallacy, right? Well, I already applied, they already admitted me. I've already looked at apartments in Boulder.
Yep. Hey, this reminds me of my dad's rule. My dad tells me every time you want to do something on the house, you got to talk to at least 3 people. And my AC went out the other day. It was extraordinarily hot. It was like 96 degrees outside.
Oh, God.
And I called someone. I said, hey, it was the weekend. I said, hey, this one guy said, okay, I can come over tomorrow morning. So he came over, and right away he was talking about replacing the whole thing. And I was like, I was skeptical. I was asking a bunch of questions. I was like, okay, well, what are we looking at? But I followed this rule, and I had someone else come, and he came an hour later, and he just started dinking around in there. He's like, well, I'm going to have to charge you $300 to get this one thing off, and it may not fix it. But I'm still going to have to charge you because I have to do work to get there. And I said, yeah, don't worry about it. Just give it a shot. Yeah. And he fixed it, and he had to charge another $100 for something. And I was on the verge of possibly replacing that entire system.
15 grand or whatever it is to replace the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what it's like. If you apply to one school or 2 schools and you only get shitty offers, you start to think that's what the universe looks like. And that's not what the universe looks like.
Right. Yeah. No, please, everybody, if you're hearing this, our advice is to apply broadly and then to consider the actual offers that you receive. You're going to be a lawyer. Lawyers dig through the fine print. You're going to have to get those offers in hand and then be your own advocate. Dig through the fine, and it's not that fine, but like there's going to be a page that shows you the scholarship shit. And on that page, you should see, okay, is it just for the first year? Because many times they offer you, and I've been seeing those offers for literally 15 years plus now, since I applied. I remember schools all the time. Yep. 25 grand for the first year, and then 3,500 every year from then on. Okay. Well, add up the tuition for all 3 years and subtract the paltry scholarships from the second and third year and the bigger scholarship for the first year. What's my total cost of attendance? And then that's what you should be comparing to other schools. You should also get more sophisticated than that and consider how much they're likely to raise the tuition in 2L and 3L year, because recently, for the last couple decades, it's been like double inflation.
Yeah.
So that's probably going up. Like the ticket is going to be more than you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Some
But
scholarships are tied to tuition and some aren't, right? They're saying, oh, you get a full tuition scholarship this year, but next year that's only going to cover 95% of tuition because tuition has changed.
yeah. So Eric dug up a bunch of stuff here. Should we read through some of these bullet points?
Yeah.
Like what these offers actually look like at the University of Colorado?
Might as well. Yeah.
It is Shenanigans, but it's not like this is a University of Colorado. Like they didn't invent this. This isn't like a special play that they have in their playbook and no one else has.
Yeah.
This is something that all schools do, or many, many schools do. So just be careful when you're evaluating the actual offers that you receive. So for example, one user on lsd.law reported that this is what their offer looked like.
Yeah. So a $79,000 scholarship, 3-year total, is a full ride for a 1L and $15,000 for a 2L and a 3L. Less than half. So that's less than half tuition later. Plus a $4,000 summer stipend. Okay.
Whatever. It's it's $15K for 2L and 3L. That's $30K. $4,000 for, let's say it's 2 summers. There's $8K. Plus a full ride for the first year. Add all that up, and it's a $79,000 discount overall.
Okay.
What's the tuition again, by the way, though? I mean, like we already read it.
It's 40. Right?
The actual tuition, assuming non-resident, is $42,000 per year plus fees, plus inflation. I mean, I think you're looking at $130,000 at least. So they're giving you a that's a $79,000 discount on a $130,000 item. They're still going to charge you $50,000 plus over the course of 3 years to go to their school. Which, did you pay that much for undergrad?
No.
Like all 4 years? I don't think I paid $14,000 a year, I think, and it included my living expenses.
Yeah, I paid if we're talking about tuition, I don't know what I paid for living, but I know for tuition I paid $6 a year.
Right.
It's cheap. Yeah.
Well, that's much more in line with what that education actually would cost them to deliver. I mean, if you think about what they're actually doing, huge lecture halls, one professor at the front of the room teaching you for 2 hours a week for 14 weeks, and then grading a single essay exam. Although if the ABA has their way, they'll also have to give you some cheesy quiz halfway through the semester, which will require no effort on their part because they're lazy. That's why they don't currently give meaningful feedback. This is not going to be meaningful feedback that they will give you because of the new ABA bullshit. But anyway, they are delivering it's one-to-many education that they charge one-to-one prices for. And so they just print money. I mean, it's just outrageous. You want to look at some of these other offers? It looks like we've got a bunch. There's like a cluster of them that are similar.
Yeah. So there's a bunch here that are for $55,000. That's for the 3 years. And that amounts to probably $35,000 for the first year, more than half, $10,000 for the last 2 years, less than half. So basically Colorado can report more than half going to these people, but in reality, when you look at it in its aggregate, it's definitely less than half.
Yeah. Just a little note for producer Eric, amazing LSAT demon teacher Eric and producer of the show. This is by no means a University of Colorado issue. This happens at tons and tons of schools. This is extremely common. I've been seeing it for my entire career. They give you a generous offer for your first year and then it declines significantly for your second and third year. And if people are looking at that and thinking, if they just don't read the fine print, they go, oh, wow, $35,000 a year. That's amazing. It's like, well, yeah, $35,000 for 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a universal tactic, right? It's the free trial tactic.
Yeah. Right. It's nothing.
It's get in the door and then it's very hard. But this is a product that's very hard to disconnect from.
Nothing new about this. I mean, we're calling out the University of Colorado in particular, but the individual applicants should be the ones who make their decision there, right? I mean, that's fair for the University of Colorado to make that offer. You just have to look at that and go, yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking for. And you could also push back. They might not want to negotiate your scholarship, but they might be willing to hear your concerns about your scholarship.
In a scholarship review.
Would you just meet with me to talk to me about my concerns, please? And at that meeting, you say, hey, I see here that you've offered me $35,000 for the 1L year, but only $10,000 for the 2L and 3L years. But the tuition is probably going to go up in the 2L and 3L years. So is that a typo? Did you mean to say $40,000 for the second year and $45,000 for the third year? They won't find that amusing, but you can sit down with them and review the pricing that they're going to charge you for this extremely expensive product.
Yeah.
And if you don't like what you hear when you review the pricing of this product, you are in no obligation to buy, especially if you've applied broadly so that you have multiple competing offers to choose from. But yeah, I can see how they've got you over the barrel if you only apply to one school.
Anything else to
Moving
say
on?
there? Yeah, let's go on.
Should we do this logical reasoning question?
Let's do it. Okay, I will read it and you can tell us what you think of it.
This is a real actual LSAT question from the real actual LSAT. I hope I don't mess it up.
A cup of raw milk, after being heated in a microwave oven to 50 degrees Celsius, contains half its initial concentration of a particular enzyme, lysozyme. Lysozyme?
All right, so I don't know shit about lysozyme. They told me it's an enzyme. I don't know shit about enzymes either. But I do understand what happened here, which was they took a cup of milk, they put it in the microwave, they heated it up to 50 degrees Celsius. I guess that's half of boiling. I know that much.
Yeah. Okay.
And it now contains half of its initial concentration of lysozyme, whatever that is. So you put it in the microwave, lysozyme went down. All right. What about it?
Conclusion, fact, something else?
Sounds like just a premise. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
They could offer me evidence in support of maybe they only think that it contains half of its initial concentration of a particular enzyme. The next few words could be, this is because, or something like that, where they would be telling me, okay, well, here's the logic that I used to reach that conclusion. But probably not. Probably they're just stating a fact. Fun fact about what happens when you put raw milk in a microwave and heat it up to 50 degrees Celsius.
Agree.
I would not extrapolate that fact any further than what they've already told me, though. Right. So some people are going to go, oh, so if you heated it up to 100 degrees Celsius, then all the lysozyme would be gone.
Yeah.
And I would not do that. I would say, nope, heating it to 50 degrees halved the initial concentration of lysozyme. That could be it.
Okay. If the passage continues, however, the milk reaches that temperature through exposure to a conventional heat source of 50 degrees Celsius, it will contain nearly all of its initial concentration of the enzyme.
Okay. So if you heated it up in the oven instead, but you had the oven set to 50 degrees, that's a conventional heat source. Okay. The oven.
Mm-hmm.
You could say the stove, but can you really set the stove to 50 degrees Celsius? Probably not. You could, I guess, put a thermometer in it, but the oven makes sense, right? Put it in the oven. You set the oven at 50 degrees Celsius. You let it heat to 50 degrees Celsius. Then you put the milk in there, and then you wait until the milk reaches 50 degrees Celsius, which eventually it would. Okay. Then what? It'll contain nearly all of its initial concentration of the enzyme. Oh, so that doesn't happen. Oh, weird. Okay. So the microwave is causing the lysozyme to go down, but the oven wouldn't. Huh.
So something about the difference there is presumably causing the different result.
It's a paradox at this point. At this point, it's like, wait, if I heated it up to 50 degrees in the microwave, it would have reduced the lysozyme. But if I heat it up to 50 degrees in the oven, it won't. So I read that and I go, so is the microwave doing weird shit to it, or is the oven somehow preserving the lysozyme? Like why is it different?
Yeah. Therefore, what destroys the enzyme is not heat, but microwaves, which generate heat.
Certainly could be true. Could be true. And I think people think that when I object to arguments that I'm always trying to tell them that their conclusion is in fact false.
Yeah,
but that's
going too
not
far.
what I'm doing. No, I will grant them you could be onto something here. Like that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to assume.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is not to agree with reasonable assumptions. My job is to point out that this is an assumption and to explain how, while it could be the case that microwaves maybe they seek out and destroy lysozyme. That is totally possible. Or maybe microwaves, for whatever reason, accidentally destroy lysozyme. That's possible. Totally possible. But it's also possible. So without like making a specific prediction here, which might be tainted by the fact that I have seen this question before, instead I would be looking for ways that you could explain this paradox without resorting to microwaves kill lysozyme. And I don't know that I have like a really very good prediction. Do you? I don't think I have something specific. I think I would just be going.
Don't know enough, but it's like, okay, but something else could be going on here. I mean,
right. Like, what if you always put, like, you have to use plastic? Okay, how about what if plastic does it?
Could be the case because you can't use metal in the microwave or whatever.
What if it's the rotating tray thingy? All right, here we go. Yeah. Now I'm on the right track. Okay, I can feel it. It all clicked in where it's like, no, dude, just anything else about the microwave.
Yep. Other than microwaves.
The proximity to the bump, the buzz, the flashing lights, the countdown on the micro. What if it's the sound from the microwave? What if it's the plastic encasement in the inside of the microwave? What if it's the weird yellow light inside the microwave? What if it's the spinny thing that's rotating it around? What if that kills lysozyme?
Yeah, just moving the milk is the problem. Yep.
What if anything else that's involved in microwaving, my microwave is installed up above the counter. What if lifting it up, what if it's elevation? Like the oven is down below. That protects the lysozyme. But when you lift it up above, that kills the lysozyme.
Yeah.
And that's where the microwave is.
I mean, some people hearing this will be like, you're crazy. Like, what? That's not the reason that those things die. It's even if they're not, we don't know. And if it turns out to be true, then this argument fails.
None of what I just said is true in real life. Yeah. I'm sure all of everything that I just said is false. That's not the point. The point is, if any of those things were true, it would be an alternate explanation. Oh, it's not the microwaves themselves that are killing the lysozyme. It's the spinny thing. It's the light. It's the plastic. It's the elevation. And because the question is probably going to say which one of the following, if true, will strengthen or weaken. It's probably time to read the question at this point.
Yeah. Which one of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument?
Right. So if I go into the answer choices and it says something like, lifting a cup of milk high enough to put it into the microwave destroys 50% of its initial lysozyme.
Or all enzymes in the milk. Yeah.
I just go, okay, cool. That does it. Like, I don't have to think about whether, like, that doesn't have to make sense in real life.
Because it's if true.
Yeah. It's just, okay, if that were true, that the spinny thing inside the microwave destroys lysozyme. All right. If that's true, then that would weaken this argument because they're trying to say that the microwaves did it. Mm-hmm. I'd be looking for an answer that just shows that anything else could have done it.
Yeah. Or, hey, here's another thing. They're saying it's not the heat, but it's the microwaves. If we could get something that suggests that it is the heat somehow, because that's another part of this conclusion, right? It's not just that it is the... But
the tricky part is that they did raise the milk to 50 degrees Celsius in both cases, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this is kind of a tricky one. because you see that and you go, oh, well, it couldn't have been the heat. But as it turns out, there is a way for it to be the heat. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Answer choice A, heating raw milk in a microwave oven. Heating raw milk in a microwave oven to a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius destroys nearly all of the lysozyme initially present in that milk.
I guess that could be used to strengthen the argument. It's like, hey, look, the microwave kills lysozyme. You just keep going and it kills the lysozyme. I'm looking for something that, if true, would weaken the argument. A feels like if it does anything at all, it only strengthens the argument. I can't pick A.
B, enzymes in raw milk that are destroyed through excessive heating can be replaced by adding...
Don't care. Just don't care.
Yep.
Like the fact that you could later replace the lysozyme is not what we're doing here.
It's not relevant.
Right. Why did the lysozyme go away? Was it microwaves or was it something else? You talking about, oh, you could replace the lysozyme.
Don't worry.
An example of where I just get to go, it is not what we're doing here. Next answer.
C, a liquid exposed to a conventional heat source of exactly 50 degrees Celsius will reach that temperature more slowly than it would if it were exposed to a conventional heat source hotter than 50 degrees Celsius.
So I know that C is talking about a new thing, which is an oven set to 100 degrees Celsius instead of an oven set to 50 degrees Celsius, which is what we had in the facts. It said a conventional heat source of 50 degrees Celsius. So that means that they set the oven at 50 degrees. The oven is 50 degrees, and then they raised the lysozyme to 50 degrees by exposing it to a 50 degree conventional heat source. C says, oh, well, slower to do it that way than if you had set the oven hotter. Huh? So? Yeah. Did the microwave kill the lysozyme? Is it the microwaves that killed the lysozyme, or is it something else that caused the lysozyme to go away in the microwaved milk? C's not about that.
D. Milk that has been heated in a microwave oven does not taste noticeably... Don't care. Yeah, we don't care about
irrelevant. And people get mad sometimes when I dismiss wrong answers early, but this is really how it's done. I mean, we're going to take all the time in the world to think about the facts and the argument. We're going to take all the time in the world to think about the question that they're asking and to try to make predictions. But I am not taking time on answers that I just know are wrong. And the second they start talking about taste, it's like, who gives a shit? We're talking about a causal mechanism for the destruction of lysozyme. That's the only thing I care about.
E. Heating any liquid by microwave creates small zones within it that are much hotter than the overall temperature that the liquid will ultimately reach.
Now, it doesn't say that that's not the case with a conventional heat source.
Yes.
But how could a conventional heat source of 50 degrees Celsius cause pockets that are, there's no reason to suspect that would happen.
Yeah, that's probably why the test writers explicitly said exposure to a conventional heat source of 50 degrees Celsius.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but yeah, E is going to be correct here, because if that's true, notice heating any liquid by microwave. Oh, so raw milk is a liquid. Yep. Okay. People will be like, but E talks about any liquid.
That's too strong. I only care about milk.
Yeah, I know. But if it's true of any liquid, then it is true of raw milk. And that means that it applies to these facts. So heating raw milk by microwave creates small zones within it that are much hotter than the overall temperature that the liquid will ultimately reach. Now, if that weren't true in the oven, which presumably it's not true in the oven, but it does happen in the microwave. Now I'm imagining this cup of milk spinning around in the microwave. Eventually, the whole thing is going to reach 50 degrees. But as that's happening, there are pockets in the milk that are reaching more than that, much hotter than the overall temperature. So 100 degrees. Oh, boiling. Oh. So maybe what's happening here is the lysozyme is getting destroyed by high temperatures in the process of microwaving. Not the magic of the microwaves themselves, and also not the light, the spinny thing, the elevation, any other hypotheses. it actually is heat. And now I'm looking at their conclusion and noticing that they said what destroys the enzyme is not heat, but microwaves.
Yep.
And E provides a mechanism for it to actually be the heat. If E is true, I think it puts this argument in a real bad spot. A, B, C, D do nothing or actually strengthen the argument, making E an easy pick.
Checking the correct answer here, it is E, and the most tempting wrong answer is C.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that. C, I think if you read C, you start thinking like, oh, it was the speed with which it reached it was, so it's not the microwaves, it's the speed with which it got there.
Mm-hmm.
But C didn't say it gets up to temperature much faster in a microwave than it does when exposed to a conventional heat source. That's not what it said. Rather, it said comparing 150-degree conventional heat source to a hotter conventional heat source, which wasn't even part of the experiment.
Yeah.
And so C brings up the idea of speed to temperature.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's attractive, because I think you probably could write a correct answer that had something to do with speed to temperature.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
the change.
In the microwave, it gets to 50 degrees in 15 seconds. In the conventional heat source, it got there in 15 minutes. And fast changes in speed destroys lysozyme.
Totally.
Then that would be, oh, well, no, it wasn't the microwaves. It was the speed with which it got to temperature. But since C isn't about the microwave, or it isn't comparing conventional heat sources to microwave sources, C's just playing around with different oven settings, and that's not going to do anything to this argument.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you take that same objection and try to apply it to E and you say, wait a sec, but E doesn't talk about conventional heat sources, it doesn't matter, like we said earlier, because they said in the passage, through exposure to a conventional heat source of 50 degrees Celsius, making it highly, highly unlikely that there would be such pockets. So we don't have to make the same assumptions with E that we do with C.
Word of the week, and then we can get out of here.
Okay. This is from test 112, passage 3, the parsimonious arrangement whereby the same hormones involved in the biology of reproduction also influence sexual behavior. Okay, so when I think of something as parsimonious, I think of it as like stingy or something where you're like Scrooge. Is that, maybe that's just wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I read it here as meaning something a lot closer to harmonious. That if you've got the same hormones that are involved in the biology of reproduction and also influencing sexual behavior, maybe stingy, it could, like it's efficient. Seems like the body is getting a bargain on that. If the same hormones are involved in the biology of reproduction and also influencing your sexual behavior, which is necessary in order to create reproduction.
So either I'm way off, or maybe this is a possible definition, or maybe this word means both. I mean, it's weird. Sometimes
I'm going to say something like, like it's efficient and convenient and harmonious. I don't know.
Okay.
Parsimonious, according to Merriam-Webster. Frugal to the point of stinginess. Second definition.
Oh, literally that word. Okay.
Second definition, sparing or restrained.
Yeah.
But synonyms are cheap, miserly, penny pinching. But yeah, I can see how it makes sense there. That it's kind of a compliment though, right? Because it's like efficiency is what that's really getting at.
The parsimonious arrangement whereby the same hormones involved in the biology of reproduction also influence sexual behavior. So yeah, you're being stingy or frugal. Frugal is probably a better word.
2 birds with one stone, right?
Yeah.
The body is getting a 2-for-1 on those hormones. Doing 2 things that it needs to do with the same hormones. So, but parsimonious does, I guess, mean stingy. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Be LSAT famous. Please ask questions or share news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or on socials at LSAT Demon. If you have questions about the LSAT Demon, email help@lsatdemon.com. Check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 469 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.